Morning, everybody. We have lots of you joined already, but we're just going to leave it a few minutes, minute or two, for a few more people to trickle in. Okay, brilliant. We're going to proceed then. So, hello, everybody. My name is Sam from Mobility Ways, and welcome to our CSRD workshop. The CSRD Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive has been introduced by the European Union to require organisations to disclose reports on their environmental, social, and governance factors, ESG. These can impact your financial performance, but it should also help sustainable projects to win more investment. Aligning with CSRD is compulsory for many companies in and outside of the EU, but it can also be of direct benefit. In this workshop, you'll learn absolutely everything that you need to know about CSRD, including key requirements, timelines, best practice, and practical next steps. Guiding you through the next 2 hours will be Julia Demianchenko, Ambassador Educator at the CSRD Academy and Impact Institute. Julia organises tailored educational experiences to help organisations navigate CSRD regulations in sectors including finance, food and agriculture, and government. She has also collaborated with institutions such as Cambridge University Assessments. Next slide, please. Okay, sorry, next slide again, please. Now, there will be 2 Q&As throughout the session, so make sure you add your questions to the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen as we go along. Also, please make sure to upvote your favourite questions, as they definitely will then get answered. The most upvoted questions will win a copy of How to Be a Chief Sustainability Officer, Leading the Transition to a Sustainable Organisation by Jennifer Geary and Anna Kretova. This session is designed to be interactive, so please go to menti.com. Menti is spelled MENTI.com, or scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen and enter the code to get involved. Please add your full name in Menti so we can identify you if you win a book. You'll be able to have your say, and there will be quizzes along the way with more opportunities to win a copy of How to Be a Chief Sustainability Officer. Okay, over to you, Julia.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to see everyone here, and I see that quite a lot of people are joining today. Hello and welcome. My name is Julia Demianchenko, and thank you so much for the introduction. In this session, we are about to deep dive into the CSRD implications, and I will be very happy to see your questions. In the middle, we'll have one moment, and then by the end of the session. And now I will share my screen. Okay. So today we have some objectives, and I think that it's good to understand why we are here. We are here, of course, to raise the awareness of CSRD and its implications for the UK market and UK employers. Then we need to understand the key differences between the CSRD and existing UK reporting requirements. And of course, we will learn the practical steps to prepare for CSRD, and yeah, off we go. As Sam mentioned, in order to get a copy of this amazing book, How to Be a Chief Sustainability Officer, you need to be active, and please leave your questions in the Q&A section of this chat that we'll have, and you will see it in the bottom. And also you will have 3 opportunities to be active in Menti, where I will ask you to share your answers and to take part in the quiz, and also we'll have some scenarios. So I will tell you when you need to go there, and we will use this opportunity. So please be active. And now I shared with you what the objectives are, but it's also really important to understand what do you want to get out of this session. And this is the first opportunity to use Menti. I will give you some time, please. You can either scan the QR code on the left, or you can go to menti.com, menti.com, and use the code that you can see on top. All right. Great. And we have some answers already. Let's wait a little bit more. Good. So what do you want to get out of this session? I can see basic understanding, insight, opportunities. Perfect. Okay, great. Awareness, omnibus draft. Yes, we will have and we will cover it today as well. The implications of the omnibus. Okay, UK impacts. Right. Thank you. Insights. Okay, the impact of omnibus, quite a lot of interest here. Understanding, awareness, well done. Okay, great. Thank you that you should understand the requirements. That's also something what we are about to cover. Compliance and the dates when I can imagine that you're interested when when the UK companies are about to start complying. Okay, great. And ESG guidelines. Okay, perfect. So we have quite a lot of interesting goals for today and what you would like to get out of this session. Thank you for sharing. And now I think that we are good to go with the next part, which is a quiz. So before I share with you some information which will guide you through the CSRD and how it affects the UK market, I think that it's worth saying what you know about that. And for this particular activity, we also need to use Menti. First, let's check your knowledge. All right, so please be active because by the end of this quiz, we will have some winners of the book, the first winners. All right, so what does the CSRD stand for? Okay, let's see. We have the first answer. Well, 100%, 300%. Okay, let's wait a little bit and we will see. Good. 5 more seconds. All right. The majority went for the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. Good. And now let's see. 44, 45 players are ready. Please answer fast to get more points if you want. The CSRD only applies to companies within the European Union. Is it true or false? Please share your answers. We have quite a lot of answers already. Okay. All right, let's see. So we have quite a lot of people. And we have people who are the first. Okay, so in this case, I think that we will choose the ones that you can see on the screen right now, right, Sam? So I think that there are some people already, and I will move further. Question 2. Which principle is central to CSRD reporting? Financial materiality only, double materiality, or gap analysis? All right, we have quite a lot of answers already. 44 people answered. Okay. Good. 5 more seconds. All right, so here we have the results. Double materiality is in the core of CSRD reporting. And today we'll touch upon the double materiality as well, so stay tuned. Right, and now we have some changes in our quiz leaderboard. The first is Mahesh Ramachandran. I hope that I pronounced the surname and the name correctly. Millie, Montana, and a lot of other amazing people. Please write your surname as well. It will be easier for us to find the winners. And question number 3. We have 46 people already. Please join. 47. Okay, great. And let's see. Which directive did the CSRD replace? So here we have the European Reporting Standard Directive, Non-Financial Reporting Directive, or NFRD, Global Sustainability Mandate. Okay. Please be active. All right. 5 seconds left. Here we go. Okay. Well, we have some people who answered European Reporting Standard Directive. And well, mainly we talk about the non-financial reporting directive in this case. And since this is the year when these companies actually have their reports ready. And yeah, so but we will talk about it in a bit in more depth. Right. So let's see how our quiz leaderboard changed. And here we have the final results. Let's see how they changed. Right, so Mahesh Ramachandran, congratulations. You have the highest score. And I think that then the organizers will reach you out and contact you how you can get the book. And also we have other people who left their results here. Thank you so much for your participation in this quiz. And now I think that it's good to not close. So please don't close Menti because we will have 2 more moments when we will need it. And if you want to see me on the screen as well, it would be nice to switch to the Zoom webinar and to leave your Q&A. So to leave your questions and to participate there is important. So in this part, we will talk about CSRD overview and we will see what CSRD stands for, key CSRD objectives and the scope. We will deep dive into the scope for UK companies as well and what are the implications. So let's start with the question, what is CSRD? The CSRD is a framework established by the European Union to govern and to enhance the sustainability reporting in companies all over Europe. And well, and not only. So today we'll also talk about that because you are in a value chain of your stakeholders. And it builds upon and actually replaces the NFRD and significantly broadens its scope and demands, if that makes sense, in context of the materiality, in context of what will be disclosed and how actually the approach works with stakeholders, so how the stakeholder engagement is there. So it differs, in short, and we will see how. Companies are now required to provide disclosures on various environmental, social, and governance aspects under this directive. And this is really important to mention that why actually it happens. We are talking here about the transparency. We are talking here about thinking about the future and reputation of the companies, how we establish rapport and communication and strong bond with different stakeholders. This is something what is the key. And the transparency as well as the standardized approach of CSRD helps to do that in the best manner. All right, so let's have a look at key CSRD objectives and the scope. Some of them I have already mentioned. So the primary objective of the CSRD is to offer investors, consumers, and other stakeholders comparable information on company sustainability practices and impacts. So in this way, we are thinking about not only what is the effect of the environment and what is the financial effect. We are talking about how the company affects the environment, how the company affects different stakeholders. And now I think that it's good to have a look at the scope of CSRD. So let's have a look together so that you can see the thresholds and the first reporting year and the data from fiscal year that will be used. So as you can see, this year, we have the first batch of reports, CSRD reports that were published, and we can see more than 90 of them are already there, and I'm sure that there are quite a lot of them that are publicly available, but there are 90 reports that are included into one overview that I will share with you today, and you will have a chance to see which material topics are in each sector and what are the key material topics, some information that will be mentioned there, which company was the assurance company, and that's also really important to see, right? And which outcomes were there. So let's come back to the entity type. If you are an NFRD company, and it includes the UK-based companies as well, even though the UK is not part of European Union anymore, but that's something what applies to the NFRD companies. And in this case, you can see that large public interest entities, they are actually about to, or even not about to, they already started reporting in 2025 over 2024. And the assurance is also in the process. So right now we can see quite a lot of reports that were assured by primarily by Big Four companies that we can see. Then let's have a look at public interest entities, or PIEs for short. So today we will use it quite a lot. So public interest entities with with more than 500 employees currently under NFRD are about to comply, and 2024 is the first year, the fiscal year that is to be reported about in 2025. So this year, and this is the first reporting year for these companies. Then if we have a look at other large companies, at least two of these three criteria need to work. And in this case, you can see that the number of employees is, if the number of employees is over 250 and the revenue is over 40 million euros, assets over 20 million euros. And in this case, 2 of 3 criteria works. So in this case, you are about to report in 2026 over 2025. So next year is the year. Then let's move on further. And European Union listed SMEs, small medium enterprises. In this case, at least 2 of 3 criteria that you can see below should apply. In this case, 50 to 250 employees. If the company has 50 or 250 employees, the revenue is between 8 million and 40 million euros. And the assets between 4 million and 20 million. So you can see the thresholds here. In this case, again, the rule of 2 out of 3. This is the criteria that you need to have a look at. And in this case, your first reporting year is 2027 over 2026. So the 2026 is a fiscal year for you. Then if we move further to non-European Union companies, including UK companies, but not all, and that's something what we also can see from here, the net turnover is about to be over 150 million in the European Union, 150 million euros. And it has to be the subsidiary or the branch with the subsidiary within the CSRD scope. And it can be the European Union branch with the turnover over 40 million euros. So I can see that there is quite a lot of information for you, and don't worry, this information will be shared. The presentation also will be shared with you. The key slides will be shared, and you will have a chance to have a look at it one more time and to find your company in this overview. All right, so this was the scope of CSRD for different companies and different entities in general. And ESRS, now let's have a look at ESRS framework and mandatory ESRS disclosures. So I think that it would be good to start with the key differences from the NFRD. We will have a look at ESRS 1 and ESRS 2. And then we will come across the topical standards, environmental, social, and governance ESRS. And we will see what is mandatory and on which conditions. So under which conditions it is mandatory. All right. So first of all, it's important to mention that the ESRS standards, we can see here the cross-cutting and the topical ESRS standards. And now it's important to understand what is actually mandatory and what is the subject to the double materiality outcomes. In this case, what is mandatory? The mandatory part is the ESRS 2, the general disclosures. The ESRS 1, the general requirements, shows you what is the value chain, what is the double materiality, and mainly it serves understanding of what you will disclose. And in general disclosures, you will have the disclosure requirements, exactly what needs to be disclosed, different paragraphs that you need to disclose, and this is mandatory, regardless of DMA outcomes, regardless of double materiality assessment results in this case. So this is really important to mention here. Then we have the environmental ESRS and topical ESRS about the climate change, ESRS E1, ESRS E2, pollution, ESRS E3, water and marine resources, ESRS E4, biodiversity and ecosystems, ESRS E5, resource use and circular economy. So these are 5 environmental ESRS. Then we move to the social ESRS. And here you can see 4 standards. The first standard, S1, is about the own workforce. Then we go to S2, this is the workers in the value chain. S3, affected communities, especially when your production facilities are, let's say, in different areas. So location matters and affected communities in particular. ESRS S4, consumers and end users. So here you can see that this is a very holistic approach to and granular approach to the social ESRS. So we take into consideration different stakeholders, different actors. So this is really important. Then we move to the governance. In governance, we can see 1, business conduct. And that's something what will be disclosed as well. Part of it will be disclosed in the general disclosure. So it's one of the things that you will find in a couple of places in the report. Okay, so here we can see, just to summarize, we can see that the general disclosures are mandatory. They are cross-cutting standards, and the topical standards, environmental, social, and governance, are the subject to the double materiality assessment outcomes. That's really important to understand and keep in mind. Today we will talk about the differences between the TCFD and NFRD and approach and CSRD approach as well. So what are the changes in that? And you will have a look at this from your perspective as well. Please ask some questions if you have. And now I think that it's good to have a look at, okay, I will move myself so that you can see well the screen, comparing the CSRD and UK reporting framework. So let's start with the CSRD and UK TCFD requirements. Then we'll go to the double materiality and some key differences in approaches, because it's also really important. What I've mentioned previously, the single materiality and the double materiality, that's something what is, this is actually the crucial difference, and we will see the criteria and how it's different. All right, first things first, TCFD materiality assessment. Here we can see that the TCFD, according to the TCFD, you use the single materiality, and you have the single materiality focus in this case. And what do we mean by this? We mean the financial impact of environmental risks and opportunities on the company, on the entity. And here the approach is primarily it looks into how climate change affects the company's financial performance and long-term value creation. The stakeholder focus is limited if we compare it to the CSRD, as it focuses and the emphasis is only on the investors, lenders, and financial stakeholders. I provided here the example. Let's have a look at it. If climate risks could lead to physical damage to company assets, these financial risks must be disclosed. And if the company's operations harm the environment but have no financial impact, this does not need to be disclosed according to the TCFD. In this case, we can see that if we talk about the application as such, it predominantly used in financial reporting and the climate risk management frameworks. And there are some news about the TCFD, and I'm pretty sure that some of you know about that. We'll talk about it also in a bit. So what makes CSRD different from predecessors? And here we go. We moved from single materiality to double materiality, and this is the key. Now let's have a look at what actually CSRD or double materiality assessment includes and what are the aspects. First of all, the definition of the double materiality involves the financial materiality and impact materiality. So this is really important to understand. And it's not only about how the environment actually affects the financial situation of the company. It actually how the company and the company's activities affect the environment, affect the affected communities, and so on. And in this case, you can see that this double materiality considers not only how sustainability factors affect the company, what I mentioned previously. So here, the society and environment are in the great emphasis. So that's really important for the CSRD report. And we can see that this is the combination of the impact materiality and financial materiality, not either or, but both. And this is actually the first time in the history when we can see that we have the double materiality in the core of the directive and in the core of the reporting. So CSRD is the front runner in this case and adopted the best from other frameworks and directives, if that makes sense. So that's something what is good to admit. As for the stakeholder engagement and the focus of the stakeholders, so here you can see the broader range of stakeholders that are included. You can see the employees, own employees, investors, consumers, communities, affected communities in particular, regulators, and other stakeholders, so your suppliers, and let's say here we actually look into the whole value chain as well. So let's have a look at the example. If the company, without any if, the company must disclose both financial risks of climate change to its business and the environmental impacts of its own activities, even if those impacts do not affect the company's financial performance. And this is the key difference between CSRD and any other directive, any other regulation that can be applied. And this is really in the core of CSRD. Transparency about these impacts, transparency about the risks, transparency about opportunities that can be as well. Because CSRD is not only about regulation itself. It's not only about compliance. Compliance is obviously important, right? And also many of you are here to understand it better today. But CSRD, as you can see right now, with the approach to the double materiality, with the approach to the stakeholder engagement, is a game changer. It really includes and it really takes into consideration different interests and makes it standardized and transparent. So at least this is in the core. And so that's something what is really important. It's required by the CSRD, and obviously, so in this case, we are talking about the CSRD. It's a directive. And when we talk about the standards, these are the ESRS standards that I showed you a couple of slides before. And in this case, we are talking about the ESRS standards that where actually the requirements are placed and what needs to be disclosed as well. So after the DMA, well, actually not after, during the DMA process, you can see what is material and what not. And then this is actually the information for you to understand how to work with it and what needs to be changed in the future, how your activity is supposed to be adjusted if it has to be adjusted. And let's have a look at the comparison of TCFD and CSRD requirements, right? So as I mentioned, it's really important to understand that one of the TCFD's core principles is the focus on financial materiality. And it examines how climate-related risks and opportunities impact a company's financial performance. So this is the main difference, right? So by financial performance, we mean the revenues, the cash flows, and as you can see here, the asset valuations. And this contrasts with the principles of CSRD. It contrasts with the double materiality approach adopted by the CSRD. And in this case, it's really important to understand that and to understand the principles of double materiality and how to apply it in your context. So this difference underscores the complementary but distinct objectives of the TCFD and the CSRD, reflecting different global approaches to sustainability reporting. And we are not comparing what is good and what is bad here. We are saying that CSRD used quite a lot of information and was built on, there were quite a lot of standards that were built on the TCFD information as well. So this information, some information was included and can be found there. What does it mean for you? It means that the gap analysis is important. So in this case, you're not starting from scratch. You're not starting from the very beginning. You see what you already have during the gap analysis process, and you can see which standards you already use, which reports you already had in the past, and maybe you used the GRI, maybe you used the TCFD, right? And those who are NFRD, in this case, most likely you already know what you need to do, but in any case, that's something what we will touch upon today as well. And this is CSRD. What I want to say and highlight here, CSRD was not developed and created in isolation. CSRD is the result of a lot of information, a lot of different forms and shapes that actually brought about the CSRD ESRS standards. And we can see those in the requirements. Right. So as we can see, what I mentioned at the very beginning, I will touch upon the TCFD. With the disbandment of TCFD in 2024, we can see that there is right now the shift, and the principles were incorporated into the ISSB, the International Sustainability Standards Board. So I think that you might have heard about that. If not, it's good to visit the website of ISSB and to have a look at it. And IFRS S2, right now, the climate-related disclosure standard includes this information. So the IFRS S2. It's also good to check some more details. It's not within this webinar. It's not within this workshop that we have today, but it's information that also you can benefit from to check the IFRS S2. So what does it ensure? It ensures that the TCFD recommendations remain central. They are in the core to the global framework for sustainability reporting. However, it's also important to mention that IFRS doesn't use the double materiality approach. That's also something what is good to mention here. Yes, it takes information from TCFD. Yes, it incorporated it. Whether this information can be used in CSRD report, yes, but it needs to be adjusted and adopted. All right, so that's something what is good to keep in mind. And so there will be some changes to GHG reporting as well, according to the IFRS. But it's good to it's good to have a look at it and see what would be what will be the next update. All right, so I think that now we will have a look at the TCFD and CSRD requirements difference, and we will recap it. You can see here the criterion and the TCFD and CSRD. Let's walk through that so that you have the holistic picture of what it entails. So first of all, the first criterion, the financial materiality. In TCFD, yes, it's a primary focus. In CSRD, it's a part of a double materiality approach. So it's not the key focus. Impact materiality in TCFD is not considered, whereas in CSRD, it's an essential part, and it's essential to report impacts on society and the environment. If we talk about the scope of reporting, the TCFD covers climate-related financial risks and limited to that only. If we talk about the CSRD, here we talk about the environmental, social, and governance scope. So this is really very broad. And the disclosure is the subject to the double materiality assessment. Stakeholder orientation, here in this case, we can see that the focus of TCFD is primarily on the financial stakeholders that affect the business, right, or can be dependent on it. And when we talk about the CSRD double materiality, in this case, the focus goes to the broader range, including the societal stakeholders, including the whole value chain, the affected communities. Own workforce is actually material. So own workforce right now is not taken for granted or, let's say, neglected. It's actually in the core as well. So this is really important to highlight here. Suppliers, consumers, and end users. This is something what is included in the scope of stakeholder orientation under CSRD. All right. Well, I think that today you came here not only to learn more about when to report and how, what the difference is between TCFD and CSRD, what the approach is to the double and single materiality, right, and what they stand for. You came here also to understand what omnibus updates, what are the omnibus updates. And within the last weeks, we saw a lot of information on LinkedIn, on social media, and in different sources. I would say and recommend filtering this information because there is quite a lot of attention to that, and that is fair. But on the other hand, let's wait until the final. Result, right? And let's see, today I will share with you and I will reveal what is it for the business, what are the implications for those companies who already report this year over 2024, because there is quite a lot of noise around that, if I may say so, and we need to calm down. We need to understand that why omnibus is there at place. What is it for those who will report? What is it for those who actually developed and truly believe in sustainability? And what are the effects, right? And in this case, it's really important to not be judgmental, but to see what it is for different parties, what it is for different stakeholders, because omnibus was developed and was created not in isolation, like a CSRD as well. And in this case, whether we like it or not, whatever attitude we may have to this process, we just need to see what are the implications, and that's mainly something what we'll have a look right now at. Right. So first of all, Omnibus brings adjustments. Some people say that these are the simplifications. Yes, these are the simplifications, and we will not say that they are not. So the CSRD, if it works and if it comes into action, it becomes relatively simple at some point, but I wouldn't say so on the other hand, and you will see why I'm saying so. So here you can see some information. The European Commission's Omnibus Sustainability Package was adopted recently, on the 26th of February, 2025, and what does it do? It introduces the significant change to corporate sustainability reporting, to CSRD itself, and these reforms, mainly they aim to enhance the global competitiveness of European businesses by reducing regulatory burdens. So this is something what many companies wanted, many organizations wanted, many organizations were against it. And let's say we will not deep dive into this particular matter. We will see, okay, what is it if it happens, right? And most likely it will. Omnibus adjustments to CSRD. First, let's start with this and let's see what are the implications. All right, so first of all, it's the scope. Here we can see that only companies with over 1,000 employees are now required to comply with CSRD and EU taxonomy standards. And what does it mean? It means that there is an exemption of approximately 80% of firms previously covered. Quite a lot, I must admit, but let's say this is the reality, right? So this is something what can be, and this is what is it for you. It's good to keep it in mind when you plan. I don't say that you need to wait until Omnibus is there at place and in action. I think that, and not only me, it's better to continue working on your processes, continue working on your sustainability reporting. But this is something what can be the difference. And now let's go to the small and medium enterprise exemption. In this case, you can see that the small and medium-sized enterprises can decline requests to provide data for larger companies, CSRD compliance. In this case, it may be it may cause some implications because the companies, the large companies, they actually are obliged to contact different stakeholders. And if some of those small and medium-sized enterprises are part of their value chain, then we can see the real, we can see that it can affect. And what can be the solution here? For small and medium-sized enterprises, it's in any case, it's not only about compliance, right? So coming back to what I mentioned previously, it's about transparency. It's about the principles. It's about reputation. It's about making sure that there is the transformation and the competitiveness on the market, if we also want to look into that, right? So what the client wants and what is in demand. And in this case, if small and medium-sized enterprises are actively involved in the process of sustainability reporting, regardless of the year when they need to comply, this is a game changer for those companies, because when time comes and when they are about to apply, when they are about to comply, in this case, they will be ready. And it will not be as stressful as it can be, as it was, for example, for many companies, and it is for many companies that need to apply the ESRS standards right now. All right, Omnibus adjustments were not only to CSRD, but also to Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, CSDD, and I will touch upon this right now. So let's have a look. First of all, it's the implementation delay. The directive's application is postponed to mid-2028. There were some rumors last year as well, so there was some information about it, and we could see the signs of it happening. And well, this is something what is happening if the Omnibus comes into real action, and well, this is something to expect. According to the Yeah, so according to Omnibus, there will be the narrowed focus, and you can see here that due diligence obligations are limited to direct suppliers, with the assessment required every 5 years instead of annually. Again, we will not come into whether it is good or not. That's the information that was presented, and you can see that this is the relief for companies on one hand. On the other hand, we can see that these actions possibly do not motivate the companies to be as sustainable as it could have been, but we will see. So in any case, it's too early to make any conclusions or even assumptions. So I will leave it to the final action from the European Commission as well, and how Omnibus will eventually affect. So let's wait until that. In this case, also, it's worth mentioning the CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, and some omnibus adjustments touch this as well. So the threshold introduction in this case is something what is important to mention. And here you can see that importers bringing in less than 50 metric tons annually are exempt, excluding 182,000 importers and focusing mainly on those contributing to 99% of covered emissions. And that's also something what you might have heard from the Ursula von der Leyen's presentation on the 26th. So that's what actually was mentioned in her presentation. Right. Well, I think that this is the repetition. Okay, good. So then let's see what it is for UK companies, right? So what are the implications for UK market? You can see that on the one hand, UK is no longer an EU member. However, British companies operating within the European Union or engaging with European Union markets must consider the following things. First of all, regulatory alignment. And UK businesses exporting to the European Union or with EU-based subsidiaries must adhere to these revised directives and to maintain the market access and also compliance. Then the second one is competitiveness considerations, as I previously mentioned as well. The reduced reporting requirements may influence UK companies, and it may happen that you will reassess the sustainability strategies to align with European Union standards, ensuring a level playing field. So in this case, it's a good sign, and possibly that's something what would be when we have the reduced reporting requirements for UK companies. It means that you already have other requirements inside of the UK, and when you have other requirements as well, which become obligatory, it's important to understand what they entail, and if you have some relief, well, obviously that's a positive sign. All right, and one more thing relates to the supply chain adjustments. So in this case, we can see that with the due diligence now focusing on direct suppliers, UK companies may need to modify their supply chain monitoring. This is important. Okay, sorry. And so in this case, UK firms may need to modify their supply chain monitoring and reporting practices accordingly. So in this case, the supply chain, if we talk about, for example, the CSRD, in this case, well, we need to have a look at which suppliers, direct and indirect suppliers, are included and how, right? So, and then you start engaging with them and actually developing the effective strategies of stakeholder engagement. All right. So here you can see that the proposed changes of Omnibus are now the subject to a legislative process. Well, it can take 6 to 12 months. You can see even longer here, but yeah, my gut feeling tells me that it will become faster. As yesterday, I also was listening to some presentations from European Commission, and it's interesting how fast everything changes. And we may expect that some of the delay in the timeline, for example, some elements they can be adopted quicker. It's possible. And we need to be ready for that. So not all the changes might come into place, for instance, very quickly in one go, but we may expect them relatively quickly, as there are some intentions, investment, which is being discussed into different areas. And if, and it will require these changes. All right, so for now, it's important to note that the proposed simplification omnibus package does not suspend the requirements. This is the key thing. It doesn't suspend the requirements of the existing regulations, and the current laws still apply. And what does it mean? We will have a look in a bit. I think that right now we will see and how are we doing about the timing. Well, I think that we are good with some questions. Let me have a look at the questions that you have.
We're doing okay for time, Julia. We've got lots of questions, so shall I read some out to you?
Let me
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Okay, I can see some questions as well. Possibly, maybe it's better if I check some of them and I will choose some of them. Shall we do it that way?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So I can see why CSRD was created. What are the key objectives? That's something what was covered, right? And we can see that the CSRD was created not in isolation, and with the idea in mind to make sustainability transparent and standardized all over the European Union state members, and not only, so that those companies who operate on the market of European Union in or within, they actually follow the standards. And by the way, the standardized reporting is also something what is worth mentioning here, because the CSRD requires everyone to report using the XBRL format. And what does it mean, XBRL? XBRL is a special format that helps to make sure that all information that you disclose is easy to tick, and we use the tagging in this case. So in this, if we look into the report, and if any of your stakeholders looks into that, they will see the same elements as any other company that they will look at under CSRD. So in this case, we can see that it becomes standardized, and this is a really good thing about that. Well, possibly not a very positive thing about that is that we actually need to invest quite a lot into that. All right, so it requires investment. I will not say quite a lot. It requires investment, and also learning. Yeah. Learning here is important. Yeah.
We have a question here with the most upvotes from Steve. Yeah. So okay. How do you foresee CSRD evolving over the next 5 to 10 years, and what potential amendments or expansions might be introduced over and above the changes mentioned here?
Oh, thank you. That's a really good question. Thank you, Steve. Well, in this case, how I can see the CSRD, I can see that it will evolve further, and it may be a part of another directive in maybe 10 years or so. Whether it will affect the companies, I think it may, though. In this case, we need to make sure that companies that disclose this information they do not invest all their efforts only in reporting. And if there are some simplifications, if there are some things that can optimize, not simplify, but optimize it, I can see that it will be a good sign. And then in this case, some modifications may be seen, may be seen. That's actually what currently is happening with Omnibus, right? Because why it happened, companies felt, those first companies that had to report, they felt under pressure, and they knew, we saw those companies as well, that they understand how many data points they need to disclose. And when there was no guidance from IFRA, there was not so much information. Companies were just left to their own expenses, and they had to understand how it works. And I would say that right now we have a more decent approach. And in 5 years, we will have more optimized approach to that. I can anticipate that some requirements may become not as tight, and they will become even more loose, what we can see right now. Why it may happen? First of all, this will be the response to make sure that all regulations all over the world are aligned. But since the CSRD is a front runner in this case of disclosing information transparently on sustainability, it would be sad to see such kind of changes, and hopefully it will not happen that way. If we look at this pragmatically, I can see that it can be one of those scenarios. It can be. If we look at this more optimistically, we can see that it will evolve further, and more information and guidance will be developed, and there may be some guidance on topical. More guidance on topical standards and how to approach the DMA process in this way. So now we have a lot of different tools that can be applied, and they may save some time, money, efforts within this process of double materiality assessment. Whether your question might refer to whether we will have the double materiality in the core or not. I hope that the double materiality will still remain in the core of CSRD, and because this is something what makes it different. It's the purpose, not only to think about the financial reporting, single materiality, but actually seeing the real impact that matters. And in this case, my short answer will be yes, it will evolve. CSRD will evolve. Whether it will be in this form and shape, no, most likely no. Whether it will be further simplified, based on, not my opinion, but based on the information that we have right now and some claims, we can see that yes, there will be more simplifications. Whether it means that you need to wait, no, you need to act now. It means that whether there are any changes or simplifications or not, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't engage with your stakeholders and have your strategy of how you communicate with your stakeholders, because it's a long process. Whether it's about the double materiality to do or not to do, definitely double materiality is in the core, and it's important to have it. And since you already have the single materiality, based on the fact that many companies use the TCFD and IFRS also follows the single materiality, then in your case, it's a matter of investing time, money, efforts into the impact materiality, sustainability as such, right? And the effects. So this is really crucial and important. Okay, I think that I think that one more question and we will move further.
Actually have another very popular question from Steve also. It says, are there any sustainability-related regulations or directives that could complement or enhance CSRD beyond climate, such as biodiversity, circular economy, or social impact reporting, e.g. alignment with TNFD?
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking. I believe that it's something what mainly reinforces it because, for instance, the CSRD, as I mentioned previously, it was not developed in isolation. The frameworks such as TCFD, NFRD, they were actually used, the GRI principles, right? So they were included, and they are included in CSRD, and you can recognize them there when you read the disclosure requirements. However, the effects, for example, if we talk about another side, like how omnibus may affect, well, to be honest, we already saw quite a lot of simplifications because you know that I've been a part of Impact Institute and Impact Institute and CSRD Academy. And back in time when we just launched the CSRD Academy, I remember no one was on the market. No one even was thinking about that. And no one knew how to approach CSRD as such. So in this case, I would say that first everyone was afraid because of the unclarity, but at the same time, very tight regulations that people thought they were. And they are indeed. But then after that, we saw some loosening of the requirements and disclosure requirements. For example, it affected the climate change, ESRS climate change, E1, right? It affected also the biodiversity because E4. Biodiversity is actually really important, and we can see, so many companies can see that already, that it's not enough to disclose information only about the climate change. It's really important to understand how actually S4, the biodiversity, can and play, actually not can, but plays the role in the whole process. And it's really vital to see that even those environmental standards, they have this principle that you can repurpose some information. For example, in biodiversity, if we deep dive into the data points, if we deep dive into what needs to be disclosed, we can see that some information that can be added there can be taken from other environmental standards. So in other words, I don't want to frighten or scare anyone with the topical standards. Yes, there are a lot of them, but it's manageable, and it's a subject to the double materiality assessment. Whether there will be any changes regarding that, so coming closer to the answer itself, we may see them, but they already happened. So they already happened in the past when they actually were supposed to be mandatory standards and disclosure requirements, and then they were not. And they became not mandatory, but the subject to the double materiality assessment. Only the ESRS 2 right now, the ESRS 2 is mandatory for disclosure. So whether there will be more simplifications, we will see. Omnibus is the clear example that it can be, but in this case, the double materiality, if you are right now in the process of DMA, then you need to go further with it and keep doing what you are doing. If you are in the process of stakeholder engagement, make sure that you ask information that is required according to the CSRD. That's important. So I think that I hope that I answered the question itself. And
I think so.
let me know if there are any other. And I think that it's time to move further, shall we?
I think so.
Thank you for your questions, and I really appreciate that you were active. Please leave your questions in the Q&A part, and we will come back to some questions by the end of this presentation as well. All right, so let's go into the CSRD and how CSRD affects the UK business. First of all, UK companies with subsidiaries or operations in the European Union need to think about CSRD. So that's the key thing. So they will be affected. They are affected. UK businesses listed on EU regulated markets as well. That's important to mention. And non-EU companies with an annual EU turnover of 150 million euros or more. And you might have seen this information before in some of my slides. So I think that here it's just worth mentioning how this gradation works and whether you can recognize yourself, well, whether you can recognize the company you work for in one of those groups. To be more specific, let's have a look at UK company type, the criteria, the first reporting year, and the explanation, some brief explanation that you can see. So let's deep dive into the scope and the threshold. So here it's really important. So first of all, the NFRD companies with over 500 employees. And here, also good to mention, I'm mentioning information which is currently under the CSRD. So there is no information here included from Omnibus, as Omnibus is not in place right now yet, right? So please, that's also really important to mention. NFRD companies already under NFRD. The criteria is for such kind of companies that already under NFRD before Brexit. So if you see that your company is was under NFRD before Brexit, in this case, your first reporting year will be 2025 over 2024, and here you can see that the public interest entities, you are treated as public interest entities or PIE under CSRD, and you must report early, regardless of Brexit. You must report. So that's obligatory. And what does it mean? It means that this year, I think that many of these companies already have their reports ready. And it's good to see some companies that already have their reports published, if it's the case already. Let's go to another type, other large UK companies, non-EU status. In this case, you can see that if you have at least two or of three criteria that I mentioned previously, but let's wrap it up so that you can see whether it applies to you or not. If you have over 250 employees, and or 40 million in revenue, and or 20 million assets, so two out of these three. In this case, you are expected to report in 2026 over 2025. And in this case, you can see that it applies to UK companies with a significant EU presence or listed on EU markets. If we touch upon the UK listed SMEs, small, medium, large companies on European Union markets, in this case, you again see that 2 out of 3 criteria is about to be they're met. What does it mean? It means that 50 to 250 employees that you have, then 8 million, from 8 million to 40 million revenue, and or 4 million and 20 million assets. So 2 out of these 3 criteria that you can see needs to be met, and then it means that your reporting year, your first reporting year under CSRD will be 2027. You report over 2026. Later, we will also have a look at the assurance. So when the assurance come into place in your case, in different cases. The CSRD applies also to listed, CSRD applies to listed small, medium enterprises on European Union regulated markets, including the UK companies as well. Well, not only, but including. And another group that we have, another type of the company, the UK company that can be non-European Union UK company with the turnover over 150 million euros. And it's important to mention EU, in European Union, right? So this turnover is in European Union, plus European Union subsidiary or branch with over 40 million turnover in euros. In this case, it's not either or, it's plus. And both criteria needs to be met. And in this case, your first reporting year will be 2029 over 2024 or over 2028 fiscal. And so what does it mean? It captures different UK companies with a substantial presence, substantial European Union economic activity, and treated as non-European Union company. That's important to highlight here. So that's mainly the scope of CSRD for the UK entities. And yeah, I think that it would be interesting to see what is it for you. And now we will use Menti again. Are you ready? Please come back to your Menti and make sure that your account is open and that you can see it. All right, so we will check your knowledge right now. And what is the objective? So we will have a look at the CSRD compliance scenarios for some UK companies with some numbers. You will have a look at them, and what you need to do, you need to determine the first reporting year and fiscal year. But mainly the target will be to determine the first reporting year, and because then we understand over which year. Required under the CSRD for different types of UK companies. Are you ready? Let's see. So the instructions, please first review each scenario, then share your answer mentioning the first reporting year for the company under the CSRD. The first reporting year only, okay? That will be enough. And then provide a very brief explanation of your reasoning. Why? Based on the information that you have just seen, okay? Right, well, we will have enough time for that. I will give you 30 seconds so that you can share the information for each scenario. Be active, please be very active, and let's start. The first scenario. A UK company with 600 employees, 100 million euros in revenue, listed on a European Union market. Okay. All right, we can see some information. Good. Perfect. Okay, more answers are coming. Great. 5 more seconds. I can see different answers, quite a lot of 2026. And 2027, we can see no. Some people say no, as minimum 1,000 employees are required. All right, let's see. Okay, the answer is reporting year 2026. So you can see that here we can, what is the reasoning actually behind that? The company meets the other large company criteria under the CSRD, and despite its UK origin, its EU listing subjects it subjects it to the directive. You see, so it becomes automatically the subject to the CSRD compliance, ensuring that it meets the same transparency standards and aligned with the CSRD standards, as well as other EU-based large companies. So first reporting year will be 2026 over 2025, and okay, great. Thank you for your answers. So let's move to the second scenario. All right, the second scenario: a UK-based SME listed on a European Union market with 200 employees, 20 million euros in revenue. SME, small, medium enterprise. Okay, the first answers, the first responses we have already. Right, 5 responses. Let's wait for more. Okay. Right. Please be more active. Yes, we can see quite a lot of responses. Right, I can see 2027. A lot of people mentioned 2027. 2026. I can also see 2025, first year after Brexit, 2029. Okay. I think that right now we have some answers. Let's wait 2 seconds more. Okay, more answers are coming. Good. All right. So I think that we will have a look at the answers. Let's have a look together. The first reporting year is 2027. Why? Because the CSRD includes listed SMEs on European Union regulated markets with a delayed reporting timeline to allow these smaller entities, so to say, to adapt to the new sustainability. So the first reporting year is 2027. And this phased approach reflects the consideration of the directive. Of the administrative burden on SMEs. So, and also there may be some changes as well on the SME field. So let's wait for that as well. Yeah. Okay, and I think that I will add more information about SMEs and VSMEs, voluntary SMEs. So I think that I will add more information as a material that will be sent after this workshop. Let's agree on that. So you will have more information about that. And now it's time for the scenario number 3. A UK company generating 200 million euros, sorry, in European Union turnover with a branch in Germany, meeting CSRD thresholds. What is the first reporting year for this company? All right. More answers are coming. Perfect. All right. Okay, we have so many different answers, but some of them, okay, I can see that quite a lot of people mentioned 2029. And I can see some people mentioned 2025. Let's wait 5 more seconds and then I will reveal the answers. Okay, no more answers. So the first reporting year will be 2029. Those who responded this way, my congratulations. Reasoning, well, why actually it is? Because this is a non-European Union company, and this entity is required to comply with the CSRD requirements only if it has a significant economic presence in the European Union. So in this case, you can see that the 2029 start allows time for the company to prepare for the compliance. And for those non-European Union companies, it's quite some time. First of all, why it's good? Because actually there will be quite a lot of examples already. There will be good examples, not very good examples, but still they will be on the market. And for those companies who need to comply in 2029, you have quite enough time. However, whether if you ask me when to start actually the process and whether the preparation needs to start earlier, yes, indeed. So definitely you need to start earlier, as soon as possible. It's better to start working right now. Why? Because actually the stakeholders may ask you and obviously will approach you asking for this information. In this case, we also shouldn't forget about investors. Whenever you want, whenever you need it, they will ask for your sustainability statement, and it's better to be aligned with the standard than not to, for many different reasons, as well as reputation. Another reason why it's important, as currently we can see the tendency that that if you care about your reputation, you need to ingrain the reporting, and it's not just for a tick. It's actually something what needs to be really very transparent and transparently ingrained into the activity, the strategy of the company, and also in reporting itself. All right. Here we go. Thank you so much for your participation, and please be also very active in the Q&A session that we will have after this tiny bit, and then we will also have other winners who will have a chance to have a book. Please leave your questions in the chat, in the Q&A section that we have. All right, so I think that it's good to understand now what is the limited assurance and when time comes, right? So in this case, let's summarize. So for NFRD companies, I will start from the bottom and up. If we have a look at NFRD companies, the PAEs with over 500 employees, the starting point 2025, the limited assurance from 2025 as well. So the reporting is in 2025, and also the limited assurance is from 2025. Other large UK companies, in this case, we can see that 2026 is the year for limited assurance. For listed UK listed SMEs on European Union markets, it will be the 2027, and for non-European Union UK companies, the starting point will be 2029 for limited assurance. All right, and well, here you can see some information, the same information but in text. You can recognize your company here as well. Based on the numbers that were presented previously, right? So based on the turnover, based on the number of employees that you currently have, based on the revenue and the assets, right? So have a look at this. And again, this presentation will be shared, so you will have a chance to have a look at it again, and you will have a chance to find the appropriate timeline for you and your company. I promised that there will be some best practices and CSRD compliant reports. So first of all, I want to mention that Danish companies were, well, one of those first companies that presented their reports. It's not because they are the first, just the timeline for them to report is a little bit earlier than other European Union states. So in this case, we can see that there are quite a lot of reports already on the market. I will share with you a very useful link. It's a crowdsourced information where you can find all the reports, let's say not all the reports, but over 90, not all the reports, but over 90 reports with assurance, with limited assurance. And you can see quite a lot of information which will be also categorized by the sector. And I think that in your case, it will be very helpful. It will be in one of the links here in the presentation, and also I will share it with Sam later. So best practices, let's see. First, I wanted to start with one Danish company, the marine transportation company. So I tried to find some of those companies that can be more relevant to you. I really recommend having a look at their sustainability reports. Their CSRD report, their annual report is right now available. And what I wanted to draw your attention to, I wanted to draw your attention to the structure. And we will not deep dive, for the sake of time, we will not deep dive into different peculiarities of each report here. I want you to notice what are the key elements of the CSRD report and what it is for you for the future, what you need to emphasize. So here, it's really, it's worth mentioning that CSRD report is a standardized approach to not only information which is presented, but also the structure of the report itself. And you can see it right over here. The management review, the sustainability statement, and the financial statement. So now I would like to draw your attention to the sustainability statement, which is in the middle. And you can see here the ESRS 2 general disclosures. Let me see if I can make it bigger. No, unfortunately not, but you will have a chance to have a look at it when it will be shared. And now I will just briefly read some of the key aspects that you need to pay attention to. So the ESRS 2 general disclosures, which information is included there, and this is mandatory. Basis of the preparation, so how it was prepared and the methodology, sustainability governance, strategy, business model, and value chain, and double materiality assessment. So these are the things that are mandatory for the disclosure. They are under ESRS 2. They are mandatory. Then, and it doesn't mean that the ones that you can see further are voluntary. No. As you remember, as I mentioned previously, ESRS environment, ESRS social, and ESRS governance, they are the subject to the double materiality assessment outcomes. And then when you have those outcomes, you can see that they are presented based on the fact which topics are material, which topics were identified as material. You can see not all environmental topics were material, right? So here we can see that. Then ESRS social, you can see that not all social ESRS are material, but own workforce and workers in the value chain, consumers and end users, which makes so much sense. And the governance, there is only one, and mainly it's not even a subject. You just disclose it because it's just one, business conduct, and that's something what needs to be at play. So you already have this information. And you disclose it. Okay, then the next example, Philips. Philips is a health technology company, Dutch company, and in this case, what I want to say, first of all, Philips was the winner last year, became the winner with the report that they presented over 2023 in 2024. And they participated in the CSRD Awards organized in the Netherlands, and and Impact Institute was a partner. In this case, you can see that Philips, based on many different approaches how to assess the report, we saw quite a lot of improvements in this report as well. And in the report of 2023, that report demonstrated a very decent approach to what was actually required, and a very detailed approach based on clear methodology that was mentioned, transparency, and the qualitative and quantitative data was presented in the manner that it was easy to read, it was transparent. So and this report is I would say that even more aligned with CSRD, because this is the year when actually Philips was obliged to report under CSRD. So I really recommend having a look at this report. You can see here, I decided to not copy paste only the table of contents. So probably you're also interested in the in how double materiality actually can be presented, and this is one of the ways how you can see the double materiality is presented in which topics are material. You can see on the one hand financial materiality and impact materiality, and we can see that some topics are more of financial materiality, and we can see the impacts. Others are more on the side of impact materiality. And again, environmental, social, and governance topics. So you can see they are more in depth here, and you can see that governance includes into itself the business ethics, governance, public affairs, and many other things related to innovation and geopolitical events and so on. So there is quite a lot of information and details. And whether the matrix needs to be used, you can use different materiality, double materiality assessment matrices. It's up to you. So there is no particular requirement from CSRD that you are expected to use one way or another. And the most important thing is that the double materiality process is documented, is well documented. One thing. Second of all, that it is explicit and transparent, and the matrices are not mandatory. But to depict it visually, it's all the time really good practice. So it's up to you. Okay, well, another one, Ørsted. One of the Ørsted is a Danish multinational energy company, and they also had one of those reports last year that was closely aligned with the CSRD, and this company has a really decent approach to that. You can see here again the contents, and it's aligned with all the other reports that you saw before. I really recommend having a look at this report and what is being disclosed and how the quantitative and qualitative information is being disclosed, and which data points they disclose. That's really helpful. So here you can see you can have a closer look at the contents. So, and you can recognize those three elements, right? The management review, the sustainability statements, and the financial statements. And again, drawing your attention to the sustainability statements, you can see general, which is ESRS 2, environmental, environmental ESRS, ESRS and governance ESRS, and you can see the topics that they touch upon in this report. And I really recommend reading it and having some inspiration, because we only we will. The best way how to learn is to notice, to learn from example, and when you have a good example in front of you, that's definitely beneficial. Another example of a rail transportation, DSB, you can have a look at this company as well. I think that it's another Danish company. And here you can see the climate change and how it's being presented here. So you can see quite a lot of text. It's not only the numbers, right? So quite a lot of narrative here. And here in particular, E11 transition plan is being mentioned for climate change mitigation. And we will not go into the detail, but you can see how it can be presented. So the practical next steps, how organizations can prepare. And let's have a look at common challenges and solutions. So the last part of our one of the last parts of our today's meeting points. So despite ongoing uncertainty, we can see that businesses should continue with sustainability reporting and compliance efforts. Despite what you can see right now, a lot of noise happening around. Be consistent if you have already started your compliance, your process of DMA and stakeholder engagement under CSRD, and please continue further, because the ESG agenda, as you can see here, is not driven by regulators only. It is driven by investors, consumers, and corporate stakeholders, and this hasn't changed. The investors are interested not only in your financial information anymore, but they are also they are interested in both your impact and your finance, right? So in this case, it's important to think about that. And not only consumers, they actually will require. They will make the choices what to buy and when to buy. And in this case, consumers will pick companies that are sustainable rather than not, and those companies that are transparent. And transparency is in the core of CSRD. So this hasn't changed, as you can see, and the introduction of standardized regulations is intended to enable fair comparisons. So comparability is really important. And it will enhance the transparency in any case. So I think that whatever changes will be, they will bring, in any case, all the changes will be standardized. They will have the transparency in mind. Even it may seem to be not so right now at this point, but I truly believe that it will. At this point, some regulations need to be softened, let's put it that way. And let's see what the outcomes will be. Who knows, maybe there will be more companies that will be stimulated, not just by the date when they are expected, when it is mandatory for them to report, but they will actually start working and step by step smoothly in investing time, efforts into the sustainability reporting and into CSRD in particular in this context. And then it will be easier to actually meet the requirements of CSRD when time comes to comply, when time comes to report. So I want to motivate you to not stop. I want to mention that if you are already in your sustainability journey of reporting under CSRD, please continue. Please, it's really important. Then, what is it for EU-listed large companies? Please maintain business as usual. And if you reported against CSRD fiscal year 2024 and the non-financial reporting directive. Before that, there are no compliance changes for you, as you saw today during this session, in terms of thresholds and timelines, right? So no changes for NFRD, and you need to just keep doing what you are doing and move towards the transparency. And there will likely be some updated set of ESRS with some fewer data points in due course. We will see. And I really suggest following I don't want to say following the news, but don't follow the news, follow the updates, the official updates. And it's important also to filter the information inflow that comes into what you actually want to do, because it's easy to get frustrated by so many different opinions around. Let's have a look at business. So business is due to report against the CSRD in fiscal year 2025. Do not press pause, right? So don't stop and act to your planned actions. So if you are working, for example, towards your DMA right now, or on closing your implementation gaps, go ahead and as planned. And well, if you delay, as you can see here, and the regulations do not change as expected, or if the legislative process takes longer than anticipated, you could be at risk of non-compliance, and it's not good, right? So no one wants to be at this risk. There is wider value than just compliance that I mentioned previously, right? So here we talk about the ESG strategy, right? Set habitat place, and you need to put into place the effective performance and effective performance improvement plans. Transition plans are really important as well, and preparing for voluntary sustainability reports for stakeholders. And in this case, you're not in isolation yourself, because other companies will come to you, will knock your door figuratively, and they will ask you to provide some information and help them in their sustainability reporting. And in this case, it's also good to be a reliable stakeholder, not only in business context of exchange, right? But also in exchange of data, exchange of information that can be helpful for the reporting. And it's really good. It's a really good practice. Right now, they require, well, all companies, they actually, they are in the same boat. Not all, but the first wave, the second wave is about to start. And it's important to help each other. It's important to exchange this information and data. And it's important to learn from the best examples and learn by example. So in this case, you saw some companies that already comply. If you see that you don't have all this information and you don't know where to find the data points, for example, there are also some questions like that. I would say that don't forget about proxies. Don't forget about information that can be used. I'm not saying that proxy data can be used for everything. No, but let's say if all your competitors use the data, the data from their stakeholders, and you use the proxy data, well, possibly something is wrong, right? So then it's not the best practice. But if you see that there is not enough information and you are at the very beginning, and then based on your circumstances, the proxy data is also something what can be taken into consideration in the ESG reporting. If we talk about small, medium-sized companies, take a stakeholder-focused approach. That's really important, what I have just mentioned. Well, adapt, don't pause. That's my key message of today's session that I want to mention. And the DMA is important. Your value chain, communication with stakeholders, stakeholder engagement is in the core. I'm sharing with you some useful links here. We are coming to the end of this session. Please share your questions, and I will be happy to use some time that we still have. I hope that we have some time. I know that we are running a little bit over time. Sam, do we have some time for some questions?
Absolutely, and we've got lots of questions to get through. So what we're going to do is have a quick quick fire round of questions. So I'm going to throw
All right.
some at you now. There's one from Emily Hooper, which is particularly popular. It's been upvoted lots of times, and it sort of speaks to what you were driving towards on one of your previous slides, but I think it might be worth just developing on it a bit. So there are many frameworks out there, and you have touched on TCFD and the links to CSRD. But also, there are many other ones: TNFD, ISSB, GRI. Are there any plans to align all of these frameworks as different companies are reporting on different frameworks, and adding more only complicates things for companies deciding what to report on?
Oh, that's such a good question. Thank you so much for asking. First of all, well, we didn't spend too much time today on the gap analysis and what actually to disclose. But now we can see that different companies use the GRI, and FRD was also, well, now companies already are in this process, right? TNFD, TCFD, and others. Yes, indeed. So here in this case, the regulations are about to be aligned. And you remember one of those slides was that it needs some time, and they will be aligned. With CSRD, what we can say, we already see this because CSRD was built not in isolation. CSRD was actually, it includes information from TCFD, TNFD. It includes information from NFRD and GRI. So you can recognize it by looking into that. And what is the key here? If you already have some reports, which if you already use the GRI, for example, gap analysis, that's something what you need to see, what you already have, and comparing it to what you need to disclose based on the CSRD, well, it may be that you need to add more information to meet the requirement, if that makes sense. So my short answer will be that the main goal is to make it aligned. Yes, right now it may seem that there are so many different, it's like the alphabet soup of different frameworks, directives, and I totally understand you. But at the end of the day, the IFRS standards, they use single materiality, but the IFRS will, it already, what I mentioned right before, it already uses the TCFD and adopted it. Then we can also see that those standards and those regulations, the directives, they will be aligned. At the end of the day, they will be. We just need to be a little bit more patient. In the long run, I expect them to be better aligned because international standards and European standards, they also need to be aligned. European standards require more information. I will not lie, right? But also that's something what is in the core, right? So we are very we are very fast with that, possibly, right? Some people say that we are very fast with introducing the CSRD, and maybe we are not very fast. Maybe it's better to have it already and then loosen some dice, what we currently have. We will see what it will bring us to. I don't want to add any particular opinion here, but in short, there will be the alignment, and whether you need to use different reporting, no, you need to consolidate it, and you need to consolidate your information, use the gap analysis, saying what you have, what you don't have, adjust, and then adopt and adjust, and add information which is missing.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Quite a few more questions to get through, so we'll try and keep them rapid still. This one is coming in from Meriban Akin. Is the UK planning to align with CSRD in the near future? I guess that's the million-dollar question.
Oh, that's indeed a million-dollar question. I think that yes, my short answer will be yes. If the business, again, if there is all the time if, but in my short answer will be yes, because there are strong ties between the UK and European Union countries, and businesses are, yeah, if the stakeholders are in different countries, they will definitely require this information, and I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be. So it's something what will be expected.
Brilliant. Okay, then we have another question here. So if you are currently subject to CSRD reporting this year, presumably that timeline remains.
Yes.
But for those set to report in 2026, the proposal pushes the timeline back for 2028. Is that correct?
That's correct. But let's wait until the final, let's wait until it comes into place. So it doesn't mean that even if this change happens, it's a matter of compliance. It's not a matter of sustainability activity of the company. So you still need to be, you need to start gathering this information because other stakeholders will come to you. And according to Omnibus proposal, if you are a small SME, you are not obliged to provide this information and you can refuse. But I practically I wouldn't say that it's possibly the best practice for those who have to report and for stakeholder engagement in general in this relationship. So my short answer will be that let's wait and whether to start the process. Yes, start now. It's better to start now than to wait until Omnibus may be and will be will come into place, right? So it's better to start early.
Thank you. Okay, so companies within CSRD thresholds, can they report non-financial disclosures using GRI standards or similar?
It's included into. So if you have already started with GRI and if you have this information, the gap analysis is something what I would recommend to start with and seeing where the gap is, right? So and then filling this gap with the disclosures, with the data points that you need to disclose according to the CSRD, respecting the standard itself, and it will help. My short answer will be that the GRI will definitely help you. It's already not your starting point is not zero. Your starting point is solid, and then in this case, you will just see what needs to be adjusted and improved.
Thank you. Thanks for that answer. So from Simon Devaney, can you share an example of how the direct supplier obligations will impact a UK business? What types of monitoring should be considered?
Well, that's a good question. In this case, it's important to what type of monitoring? I think that I need more elaboration on what exactly is asked, but let me try. I will try
We
to
can follow up.
respond.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
we
that
can certainly follow up after the webinar.
yeah, I think it would make sense, and yeah, so let's do it that way.
This one's interesting. This is on the principle of double materiality. So this is from Natasha Wong. Do most companies get pre-assurance for the double materiality assessment, DMA, process as well? Is this a requirement?
That's a good question. There is a recommendation to have the auditor early at place, that the auditor can be introduced into the process. However, the assurance itself will be further. The pre-assurance, you mean receiving some recommendations and then further having the final report. This practice is a good one, though in this case it should be the third-party assurance and they are not expected to interact with you within the process, so that it's actually it's a transparent and disengaged process. But you need to make sure that your information is presented in the manner that respecting the requirements of CSRD reporting. And the assurance now for this time and for upcoming years is limited assurance. When to introduce the assurance company, in particular for the DMA process itself, well, it's better to introduce earlier than later. It's better to introduce and to make sure that it's aligned, especially if I can imagine that the question is coming from the company that is about to comply in 2026 or 2025, right? So then in this case, it's better to contact and to keep in touch.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Look, that's all we've got time for. So thank you to everybody for joining today's webinar. We hope you found it useful and feel more confident about navigating CSRD regulations. Before you go, we'd really appreciate your feedback. So please do take a moment to fill in the form at mobilityways.com/certificates. By doing so, you can also request your certificate of attendance for those all-important CBD points. And you'll get early access to sign up for the next workshop in the series. That's CSRD compliance and beyond, accelerating ESG transformation. We'll also be emailing all attendees separately with a link to the recording and slides, so keep an eye on the inbox for that. And thanks again for being part of today's session. We really enjoyed it. We hope you did too. Thank you so much to Julia, and we hope to see you at the next workshop. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.